What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is WSL tour competitor Keanu Asing. Keanu, thank you so much for being here, man. I know we've talked back and forth for a while, and I really appreciate you taking the time and showing up. So a lot of people know you as a pro surfer, and it's a career path that is very hard to get to. And I want to know why surfing, like what brewed, where'd that passion come from to go want to pursue that career?
You know, I think growing up in Hawaii, we're so oriented in the ocean. It's swimming, body surfing, boogie boarding, longboarding, any kind of surfing, canoe surfing, and traditionally Hawaiians are known to be in the ocean. And as a young kid, I remember just going to surf contests as I was young, and just always being around the ocean. My mom and dad would always take me to the beach, me and my sister, and it kind of just was more of like a lifestyle instead of just kind of like just go to the court and go hit tennis balls or go shoot basketball. It's, it was kind of just more like a lifestyle thing that came super natural. And I think my love for the ocean kind of translated into loving to surf just as for fun. And I never really kind of thought about it as being a competitor or doing this for a living until my sister actually won a surfboard in a contest, and she had this little mermaid kind of board, and I was just like, here, this is for you, Keanu. And I was like, fine, I ain't using that thing, no chance. Like, I don't want no little mermaid, like little Roxy sticker on there. And then my dad was like, all right, I'll make it nice for you. You painted it all black, you made this like skull and like cool design. I was like, all right, now I'm ready to surf. And then I remember catching my first wave at Hawaiian and Ewa Beach, and I remember doing a bottom turn and going straight and seeing the wave face, and I just remember that was like the feeling I wanted to feel for the rest of my life. And then, growing up, I slowly got into surf contests, doing the Rail Sun Menehune events in Hawaii. And, a lot of the young kids from Oahu come and do these events that can kind of compete. Everybody's kind of just a raw talent that we just like to surf or be in the ocean and boogie board. And you end up learning how to compete, and you understand like, wow, you do this and you get a trophy and you get prizes and all this stuff. And then it becomes more fun. And I think the fun kind of became, all right, now I'm like 11, 12 years old, and I'm trying to win the best prize. I'm trying to win the best surfboard or like the best bicycle. And I remember I was fortunate enough to be getting surfboards from Locomotion at a young age. And every time I would try to win a nice surfboard, my dad would be like, nah, you have to give this back and give it to another kid that's in needing of a surfboard. And I think winning something and then giving back is kind of what I really felt like, wow, this is like why I can do this, and makes me feel good. Makes me feel good about winning and providing for other people too. But it's funny, surfing is like a pretty expensive sport, especially coming from Hawaii. You always got to travel and stuff. And as a young amateur, I was lucky enough to be pretty successful and winning some events. I was kind of started off being a pretty much like losing record all the time, but my mom and dad always just taught me how to put my head down and really work for what I deserve. And it kind of came about just really competing all the time and getting my butt kicked and just kind of getting tired of it. I got tired of it, and I was like, nah, this is, I remember one of my sponsors was like, nah, he used to be, he could be good, but he's not that good. There's the guys like John Florence or these guys and Carissa Moore, there's girls that are better than me. And I was just like, what? Nah, I ain't taking that. And I just remember ripping all my stickers off at one event. So I don't even want sponsors. And I just like went out and I remember I cleaned the whole divisions and did pretty well in my bracket. I got 2 second place in the national titles. And that's kind of my really big opening day where I kind of exploded onto, just the amateur scene of like, look, I'm here to win. I can win events, I can win titles. And that's kind of the beginning of, me being the professional surfer of, all right, now I can make a living doing this, waxing my board and surfing and competing and doing what I love.
If you didn't have your parents' support or your support group pushing you and not letting you quit, do you think that you'd be here today, or is that something that you attribute to your success?
Not at all. Like if my parents weren't there just, constantly supporting me and kind of guiding me along the way, I don't think I would have this opportunity to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's been countless amount of times where I've been counted out, or I'm not good enough, or you know, I'm too small, or you know, I'm just like a little fat kid that can't really get on the board and really do stuff. And you know, I remember my parents' discipline just kind of really pushing me, pushing myself to become better each and every time. And my parents always instilled hard work into my success and my craft. And I just know that without that kind of foundation, it would be really, really tough for me to kind of get into a competitive mindset or really try to work harder for what I have. And you know, my parents did everything they could to provide for me and my sister. My dad had a normal job. He wasn't an ex-professional surfer or anything, that he just passed down his knowledge. So he was just somebody that just was like, okay, my son loves this. I'm gonna help him do whatever he can so he can go live his dream and do this. So for me, that just kind of put things into perspective of just like, all right, well, this is something I also have to work hard for. This is not something that's handed to me. I gotta go out and earn this, you know. So my parents, you know, the sponsors, when I was young, my sponsors really wouldn't support me that much. You know, they would provide free clothes or free stuff, but my dad was the one that was putting up the money to put me in surf contests, and you know, they would sacrifice their time and efforts and money to get me across the country to go travel and compete nationally.
Do you remember some of the messages they maybe shared with you? Like when they were not disciplining you, but when they were encouraging you or telling you not to, you know, not to be sad, or hey, go and win this and go pursue it. Like, don't give up. Do you remember some of the things they would tell you?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like there's some moments that I look back on now. It's more funny, but in all reality, it's true. You know, I remember, I think it was my second contest in the nationals, and I was so nervous. I worked all year to get to this point, and you know, my dad was funding my way the whole year, and we finally get to the nationals, and I remember catching all these little inside waves. And in a contest, you don't really score well on like inside waves, and I was so nervous that I just was like trying to like scramble and catch as much waves in that 15 minutes, and I ended up losing. And my dad was so mad. He was like, I worked all year long to watch you come here and catch these little waves on the inside. We're done. We're done. We're done. You're not surfing anymore. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like no. He's like, no, I'm gonna take away all your surfboards. You don't want to do this for real. You don't deserve to do it. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's a big eye opener. Now I feel like I'm wasting my dad's money if I'm not trying hard enough. Yeah. So I think that kind of shifted my mindset where, all right, if my dad's gonna put in 100% of his efforts and earnings to help me get to this point, I gotta meet him halfway and give him my 100%. I can't just leave him high and dry and spend all his money and waste all his money, come over here, cruise, and just wait for something to happen. It's like my dad wants me to go and try my best.
Did you always receive that well? Or was there times where you're just like, man, screw that. If you're gonna yell at me, you're gonna talk to because that's how I was when I was little. If my parents would try to discipline me or even encourage me sometimes, but like, you don't know.
Oh, look, like my dad was just always like giving me just a hard time, not a hard time, but really kind of showing me what adversity is all about, right? And kind of just instilling, just trying to overcome certain things. And he's like, you know, he'd tell me certain things, and he'd be like, you know why I tell you this? I tell you this so you can become better. You can adapt to this. You can be stronger or mentally stronger or in certain ways. So I think for me, it was more like a learning. You know, he would always explain to me why he's telling me this kind of stuff. So it kind of ended up being more of like a learning lesson instead of just like you're on timeout, and then you don't learn anything. You know, it's kind of like a football player like doing suicides when he doesn't, you know, and he misses a tackle or something. So in all reality, I think the best thing was for me to do that and kind of have my dad guide me in that direction.
So and how did you deal with it? Because being a young surfer, maybe you don't have the life experiences or the experience of failure or a lot of successes. So how did you deal while you were coming up, not later on, while you were coming up in your local events? How did you deal with those losses? You
know, it was kind of funny just because when I was younger, it was more of just like kind of a lot of losing, and my dad's stuck by my side, my mom's stuck by my side, and
Yeah.
you know, they're like, it's gonna come, it's gonna come, it's gonna come. You just have to keep pursuing. You have to keep pursuing, you know. And it was tough, you know, losing a lot. I don't know what winning's like, and it's just like I mean, losing's not fun, you know. Everybody knows losing's not fun, and it's like, all right, well, you know, I'm just like, every time I get third place, oh, maybe I'm doing better. I get second place or just fall short. And then I remember my first win, my dad felt like he won the contest. Like he had his arms up, and I was like crying, you know, like I was just like winning. It's just like, wow, that's like finally the feeling of a win.
Yeah.
You know, and all this work and time consumed that it came to this point, you know. And I just remember all the times I just was like, come up short, don't make the final. Everybody's walking home with a bigger trophy than me, or all the sponsors are looking at those kids and not me, and always overlooked. It was like kind of what my position was, and it was tough. Like as a young kid, you want to be wanted, you know, in a group or in a contest, or you know, everybody wants to have that feeling, and it's a feeling of sort of emptiness, you know, especially when you're that age and you kind of really want to be a part of an elite group, you know, and you're kind of just on the tail end of that, and you're kind of just trying to crack into that kind of elite little group that all these kids are surfing that well. So for me, it was really tough. You know, I would remember I would cry, you know, when I was younger. I would cry. It's just like, it sucks, you know. And then I only surf on the weekends. These other kids, they get to surf all week long. You know, I only got to surf if I did my homework, and you know, so for me, it was more of just a blessing that I could go surf and then achieve some goals too.
Did you have those goals? Like, did you know, hey, when I'm 15, 16, I have to do this, and this is the top, or this is the elite. When I'm 18, 19, this is the elite. Like, did you have goals while you were growing up? Because obviously you turned and you made it a career and you turned pro, but what was that motivation for you? Was it just strictly goals? What was that motivation for you to keep going? It's very easy. It would make a lot of sense. I guess my question is to give up, to stop. Because damn, I'm losing and I keep losing. I've won third, I've won second, but I'm still losing. It's like, what's the point of it?
Yeah.
If I want to be champ, but I'm losing. So like, what made you not give up? What made you not quit? Because it would make a lot of sense to. It'd be okay. Like, hey, go focus on school and grow up.
Yeah, I think I just remember, like, my dad always told me, like, it's so easy to give up. That's the easy way out. You know, you can always just do that, just give up. But if you really want something, and I think for me, half the battle was enjoying what I do and loving surfing, that kind of gave me somewhat of a goal to be like, all right, this is what I want to do. That's the ultimate goal, of becoming a professional surfer. But there's so much one foot in front of the other steps to get to that point. And it was kind of just all these small goals. And, you know, my amateur career actually exploded, and I won all these junior titles, and I was very, very successful as an amateur, as a young amateur. And it kind of all came about, and everything, the winning feeling just kind of just kept rolling. And I was winning so much that it was just like, all right, now it's like, all right, now I'm a part of the elite group of surfers in my region, that I'm ready to take my surfing and my career a step further and enter the professional surfing league, you know, like where the championship tour surfers or the WQS surfers, and kind of challenge myself worldwide. So for me, it was just like one foot in front of the other and one step at a time. And then before I knew it, I just was like, whoa, I'm waist deep into this. Like I'm like, you know, I surprised myself. You know, all along I just heard, you know, he's okay, he's not that good at surfing, or there's so much other kids that are better, that I kind of just like almost took a sprint into you know, the deep water. So it was kind of cool, just because my goals like sped up real fast, and I ended up exceeding my expectations of becoming a professional surfer.
But how does that make you feel, knowing that you had these goals, you exceeded them, and now you're kind of where you always wanted to be, right? Is there a sense of fulfillment when that comes, or is it just on to the next one? Like, hey, I have another goal, or do you take time to sit back and enjoy it and like smell the roses, as they say?
Right. Yeah. It's like, I would remember just having these goals, and I would set these goals, and I'd achieve them, and it would be like a burger you're craving. You eat the burger, you're like, it's nice. But my dad was always like, all right, well, time to get working again. What you need to write down more goals. Was once you're satisfied, you're not gonna be, progressing. And I remember like clearly, like it happened a couple of times where I just was like, nah, it's all good. I'm winning. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Like, and then it definitely catches up to you, and it makes you be a step behind. Mm-hmm. And I just remember my dad would always say, all right, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? He never really let me just kept pushing me harder and harder. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's good, and obviously, as you get older, you learn a lot of new things, but there's also a lot of setbacks that happen, with a lot of sponsorships, a lot of, your ranking falls, your boards are changing. There's so much stuff that are changing. The ocean's changing, and I think a lot of setbacks happen, and I think they're for the better, and I remember I got so quick to the WQS, which is the World Qualifying Series, and I did well in the first couple events of the year, and I just remember like, oh, I got it. I'm gonna be on the tour, no worries. And that was the last time I made a heat the whole year. So I went from like March to December without making a heat, and I was like, geez, gosh, what am I doing wrong? And then it kind of sinks, and you feel like you're drowning, and it kind of puts a fire under your butt to kind of just, all right, now you need to get serious and start working. And I remember my first year trying to qualify for the tour, I did well, and I kind of just didn't have any expectations because I already knew what the result happens, and then all right, my coach was like, at the time, I was like, all right, well, now we got to start looking at the rest of the year. It's time to like start acting on it and pursue trying to qualify for the World Championship Tour. And I just was like, almost like my heart started pumping. Like I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like, and it's like becoming an adult. Like when you're 18 and you move into your own apartment and you're kind of, everything is like slowly compacting on you, and you're just like, geez. End of the year, I finally make it on the tour, and that was like a huge dream of mine. For my dad to sit back and just watch me be who I am and be a professional surfer, and kind of just let me do my own thing without him trying to be a coach or trying to be. He got to be the dad supporting his son.
So he knew when to step back.
Yeah, and it was
which I feel is like rare.
Yeah.
Like if you look at, I don't know, Tiger Woods' dad, like he tried to stay on the whole time. They want to be, because they one, I think, me having kids is, you feel like, hey, I've been there since you were yay high, and I paid for everything. I was there the whole time, and I think it's really neat and responsible of your dad to know, like, hey, it's someone else needs to take him to another level. It's time for me to step back and be dad and enjoy that.
Because when I was younger, he was just like, he's like pushing me. He asked this one coach, like, hey, what's the best advice to give? He's like, you want to know the best advice to give? He's like, be the dad, not the coach. And my dad was like, uh-oh. Reality set in. Then after that, he was just like, all right. The only coaching advice he'd give me is like, all right, love you, have fun. That was it. And that's still to this day. He texts me, love you, have fun.
That's awesome.
And, but it's cool because then I got to make it onto the tour. And I remember getting onto the tour. It's like growing up, like I said, it's just constant learning curves everywhere you go. It's like, now you're in a pool of grown men that you're competing against, and I just went from like the minor leagues to the major leagues, and it was just like, geez, I'm on the road like 9 months out of the year, and it's like dragging board bags here, 20 boards here. You're like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm like, by the end of the year, you're just like, I need a vacation. I'm so tired, So, it was a big learning curve, and I just had so much ups and downs as a professional. I spiked really high, I dropped really low, and I remember my second year, I had expectations for myself because I requalified. I was on the tour for the second time. And I was like, all right, my goal is to crack the top 15. That's like what I want to do.
So you got to qualify every year?
Every year you have to requalify.
Oh, wow.
And if you're not in the top 22 on the main tour, you go back down to the minor leagues, which is called the WQS.
Yeah.
And then the top 10 at the end of the year from the minor leagues will graduate to the World Championship Tour to join the 32 elite guys. Wow. So my second year, I ended up requalifying, being the top 22, and I just remember like, all right, like I got the hang of it. Like, all right, here we go. Like I did a couple rounds in the cage feeling, like, okay, I feel like I got it. Good. Yeah. And I just went on like the craziest losing streak. You know, I lost first round for maybe like 6 events.
Wow.
And surfing my absolute heart out. Absolutely trying so hard. And I'm sure you know the feeling. You just like you're working so hard and you're trying so hard to achieve something that it's almost like you're pushing it away from yourself and you're not letting it naturally happen.
Yeah.
And the feeling was just like the harder I try, the further it gets away from me. And it was just like the saddest feeling to me because that really brought me down to like me losing the feeling of surfing. Like I lost all love for surfing. Now it become a job that I don't even want to do it. I come home from a surf trip and I just want to like just be in my house and just watch TV, not surf.
Yeah.
You know, don't even unpack my boards for like 5 days. Don't even touch a surfboard for like a week because I got to go here to the next week. And I was like, and then it got to a point where I was just like, I'll come home and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm just losing all the time. Why do I want to go there? I don't want to do this. I feel like I'm losing. And I just remember I went to South Africa and I was just like, had all these brand new boards and I was excited to go surf and surf this beautiful wave in Africa. And I was just excited. I love this place. I did good the year before and I went there, lost first heat. And the first time I ever thought like, I don't ever want to surf again. That was like the feeling I felt. And I was just so disappointed in myself. I remember calling my wife and I was like, I want to come home. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think this is for me. I remember saying those words, I don't think this is for me. Like this is not what I want to do. I'm losing, this isn't fun. And I remember just like kind of letting the Lord just like come into my life. Just like, look, you're going to come into my life. I give you all control. I don't, you know, every time we always think that we're in control or we have our plans, but not knowing he has his plans for us, you know, and it kind of was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, I let him into my life, you know, and let him do the works he had for me. And for me, it was kind of just, he gave me the newfound love for what I do and appreciation for what I do. I remember going to Tahiti and I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go surf, have fun. I got, you know, incredible waves. I had a epic result. I lost to Kelly Slater. He got perfect. he comboed me perfect 20 points. And I just remember like I ripped off my jersey. I gave him my jersey. I was like, congrats. Like that was like amazing, you know, like feeling. And I just felt like, geez, that was like such a relief of like, this is why I love doing what I'm doing is because I get to surf and the smaller appreciation for things around me that I can really look at and say, this is why I love surfing. This is why I do what I do. And it's funny because I lost that, you know, when I was in Africa, I fully lost that. And it's like, why that? Like I got to this point to hate it? Like, no, you know, and I remember that year I just was like, all right, well, I'm just going around. I'm just going to enjoy, you know, I'm not going to requalify. I was at the bottom. Just have fun. Just love it. Just love it. And I remember I was at the bottom of the rankings. I was like the 32nd surfer on the tour, and I went into France. And I remember like just that whole week in France, I just was like surfing by myself, and you know everybody was like talking world titles, and the guy is doing this, and I just like I felt like I was at the bottom of the bucket watching everybody climb up, and I just was like, geez, like I'm like not even talked about. I'm not even like recognized, you know, within everybody. So I just like, whatever. I'm just gonna surf. I remember just going out and surfing one heat at a time. Like I beat some of the best guys I've ever beaten, Gabriel Medina and John Florence and Kelly Slater, and you know, not to mention everybody in that event is world class.
You're at the elite level.
Yeah,
already.
It's the elite of the elite. So for me, every heat was just a win, and I just found my rhythm, and I just kept winning and kept winning. I was like, geez, God is so good. Like I just leave it up to him, and he's, you know, I trust in him, and he's providing all this for me. And, you know, I ended up winning the biggest event in my career and winning a championship tour event amongst the best 32 guys in the world. And to me, I never felt so on top of the world. Yeah. I felt like I was floating, you know, I just was like walking around. I was like, geez, this is insane. And then, you know, seeing the people like be happy for me was just like insane. Like watching me lose all year and then just seeing everybody how happy they were for me, you know, just kind of feeling that pain all year and finally healing and winning something was just such a spectacular feeling to me.
Did you feel that? Do you feel like that moment was a culmination of your life's work? Not yet, not that you're done, just to where you're at now and what you've competed and the victories you've had. Do you feel like that one time you're just like validated? Like, man, this is why I do it. Because then there's a complete opposite. It's like, how do you deal with like when your best isn't enough? Like, how do you deal with that? But you've also experienced the highs, you know, that's an extreme high. To win at an elite level, it's almost like going into, I don't know, an 8-person tournament and you coming out on top. Like, that's it. That's the elite. That's the best.
Yeah.
You can't get any better than that, and you won that. It's like, how did you feel, you know, did you feel validated when you won that?
I did, you know, I really felt like I was at my best. Like, I gave it my best, and, you know, through all the events throughout the year and my whole life of like working so hard and just coming up short, not enough, everything stacked against me, against all odds, everything just felt like I wasn't supposed to do it, and then doing it was just like, wow, like I'm deserving of this and nobody can take this away from me.
Yeah.
You know, and to me that was just like the most validating thing, was just I get to experience this just from my whole life of working hard and getting to this point. And, you know, like they say, hard work pays off, and like, it's so cliche, but it's so true. You know, it's like, there's nothing else I could say, but just like, this is what I worked for my whole life.
Why do you think it's so sweet when you are the underdog, when people say you can't do it, you're too small, you don't deserve it, oh, there's 31 better guys? Like, why all that negativity? Like, why do you think negativity fuels that? Because it's you just mentioned this, you gave your life, or you let Christ take control, and you let him in, and then you get this result. It's like a positive turns into a bigger positive. Yeah. But why do you think, I'm not saying that that's bad, that's awesome. You know, like I love Jesus too, but why do you think it's so sweet when you have all those haters and all that negativity? Is it because you're proving them wrong, or is it because you're proving yourself right?
You know, that's a good question. You know, I think there's a combination of both, you know, like you hear the critics talk all the time, like, no, yeah, he's just making up the numbers. And then when you can just raise a trophy that you deserved, and you can tell yourself like you are good enough. Because when you're going through, you know, you're deep into the trenches and you don't know what to do, doubt obviously comes into your mind. 100%. You know, you start second guessing yourself. But then that feeling of you overcoming your thoughts and what everybody else is saying about you, and saying, no, I can do this. Yeah. I will do this. And I think shocking yourself and really proving to yourself that you are worthy, that's what's most important.
And how do you balance that? Because in our faith, it's we are validated in Christ. God is satisfied with us. He loves us. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, when our identity is in that, then it says in the Bible that we don't need anything else, but we're human. Yeah. I'm always going to read what the critics say. Yeah. I might not read all the comments, but I'm going to read something, because I think it's human nature to want to feel accepted, to want to be a part of something. And so how did you balance that in a sport that is very well, you're almost under a microscope, because it's like 32 men, that's the elite. It's not like there's hundreds and hundreds, it's not like the NFL where there's hundreds of players. It's like you're a part of the WSL, that's the elite of the elite, and you're a part of that group. So you're gonna be under a microscope. So how do you balance that? Like knowing that, like, yes, I'm made in Christ's image, I'm loved, he's satisfied with me, but I'm also human, and I know I have to meet these expectations, or these.
It's a tough balance, you know. It's a tough balance, but it all comes down to your foundation and who you surround yourself with. I think is the most important. You know, obviously, if you surround yourself around negativity, that's where you're seek. You know, if you surround yourself with positivity, people are gonna help you. You know, especially when you're down in the trenches, they're gonna help you out. You know, and that's the kind of people you gotta surround yourself with. And you know, I'm not perfect. You know, I've have self-doubt. Sometimes I'm negative, but that's why I have my foundation to pull me out of those situations, or the people around me that love me or try to help me, But I can't expect them to read my mind. I have to open up to them, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel like I'm winning. I don't like that feeling. I want to quit. You're like, hey, think about this, and that's why I have, I'm so fortunate to have a great foundation like my wife and close friends and family that really helped me through, thick and thin.
Yeah. Why do you think, not just as males, but as male athletes, it's so hard to open up? It's hard to be honest with ourselves or open up to someone else that has been through it. Like athlete to athlete, it would be, in my opinion, it'd be really smart, even though we're in different sports, it'd be really smart for me to be like, hey man, yo, like how'd you deal with this? Or how'd you overcome that? But it's rare that I reach out to anyone, especially another dude, to be like, hey man, I'm going through this. Like, how'd you deal with it? Why do you think is it just pride? Like in your opinion, just what is it?
For me, I think it's just, we're males, we're alpha, and you can't show your cards to everybody. You have to be within yourself. Just stay here, and you don't share anything, and you don't want anybody to know like your next step. But that's not necessarily the best game plan. You have to share with close friends. Maybe it's not another surfer or another fighter, but maybe it's your close friend that known you for a long time, or somebody that you can open up to. And I think growing up as a man, I learned to open up and really talk about things that happened to me, because it only patches my holes or patches my wounds, and it kind of helps me become a better version of myself. How do I know how good I can be if I still have negativity around me? Until I fix that negativity and talk about it or fix it, that's the only way I can, an airplane can't fly unless it's all tuned up. You still got things flapping in the wind, that airplane might not fly anymore. So, you got to continue to keep bettering yourself. And if you're holding on to negativity, you're never going to move forward.
Do you think the sport, you said something very interesting, I thought was pretty unique, is that there's all these changes in the sport, from the ocean to your boards to sponsors to your training regimen, whatever it is. Do you think that as a sport, because it's ever changing, that it keeps you on your toes and almost helps you become better, because you almost can't ever be like sit down and be happy, because there are so many changes? Like, does that keep you on your toes?
Absolutely, just like learning. The ocean's never going to be the same, and you're never going to catch the two same waves. So, for me, I think that's the beauty of being an athlete. In every sport, you're going to have changes, and you're going to have to deal with it and work with it and not work against it. So for me, it's a cool perspective of just like, all right, I got to work on these type of boards, and I got to use these type of fins. I think this wax is better, or this mindset works in this type of conditions, or we're surfing beach breaks, we're surfing reef breaks, point breaks. There's so much different kinds of things that you have to adapt to, and I think that's why when you do well, it's so pleasing to yourself, because you're dealing with so much challenges within the elements that's going against you. You have time going against you. You have daylight going against you. We can't surf at nighttime, so daylight's going against you. You got waves going against you. When we're surfing, we deal with judges that's going against us. So there's so much elements that are working against us, that when you do find the stars align, it's so pleasing to yourself, and it's so much fun. You're like, wow, okay, like now I got the ball rolling, and I can keep going, and it's like it's a fun challenge. It's a fun challenge, just dealing with a lot of changes and stuff. So but that's, I think for me, it's always like not trying to work against it, it's trying to work with it and how you can better yourself within it.
Was there a particular surfer or athlete, even outside of surfing, that you kind of looked up to coming up, and even now?
Yeah, there's always somebody that I always look to. For me, it's funny because I have a lot of surfing heroes, I guess, that you always look up to, like, when you're young, and, always Andy Irons and Sonny Garcias, and those are always like your favorite surfers. But for me, I think the most kind of motivating personalities or surfers that I look up to are guys like this guy from Brazil. His name is Adriano de Souza, and he was a poor young kid, and he came from not too much around him, and he overcame a lot of adversity, and he got to raise a world championship. He was actually a world champion, excuse me. And to me, people like that you can see their whole road to success or their road to victory. And for me, people like that, I really keep a close eye on and really watch. And I remember just going down to the beach all the time and watching him and Mick Fanning were like my two favorite guys to watch. Yeah. I can always relate to like, okay, what are these guys doing and how are they dissecting the lineup, or how are they approaching the heat or the waves? And for me, that was kind of like something to look at, to where, okay, I can learn from these guys. These guys give me a better vision of what I'm trying to accomplish. So him and Mick Fanning to me were like the best to watch.
And then what close the show with this. What motivates you now as opposed to what motivated you in the beginning? So it's easy to get motivated and go through losses and stuff when you're young, and because like, oh, I'm just up and coming. I got this long road ahead. But you've made it to the top. You've made it to the elite. So what's your motivating factor now?
It's funny because I made it to the elite, and I got to hoist a big trophy. But following that 2016 year, I fell off tour, and I dealt with an injury that's kind of just like small stuff, and just trying to reevaluate how I'm doing things and what I'm doing. Yeah. And I think the journey coming back and trying to move my way back up the elite level has been a challenge. Yeah. I've had a bad year last year, and it stings, it stings a lot. I fell off the top 100 on the rankings, and I lost my spot on tour. And I think working to get back there and working from the bottom up again has been a really cool experience. Yeah. And for me, what motivates me is getting back to the elite and proving that I can still win at the elite level. Just because I fell off tour doesn't mean I can't be there again. That doesn't mean I can't win again. I can win again. I'm in my 20s, my body's feeling incredible. Yeah. I'm mentally strong. I'm still able to do this, and I still have the opportunity. And I think that's what's the biggest motivation for me, is the opportunity. The opportunity that not everybody gets a chance at, and I think that's what we have to look forward to in life is our opportunities and how we capitalize on our opportunities. And for me, just getting back on tour and getting to win again and providing for my family is my most motivating aspect. That's
awesome, man. Well, what's one piece of advice you would give specifically an up-and-coming surfer, male or female? What would you say to him?
I think the best advice would be just to enjoy the process. Enjoy it. Don't push it away from you, but accept it and enjoy the process.
That's awesome, man. Well, where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you? Or
my Instagram handle is at Keanu Asing, KEANUASING, and my Twitter handle is Keanu_Asing. So yeah, that's me.
Dang. All right, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
And remember, guys, that everything was impossible until someone did it.